Let's turn from Uttar Pradesh to the Prime Minister's original home state of Gujarat, where the decision to ban non-vegetarian food stalls from public roads in Ahmedabad has triggered a protest now by street vendors who stand to lose their livelihood. Now the government is probably doing a U-turn, saying they want all street vendors, not just those who sell non-vegetarian food, who will be taken off the roads. But will that happen? Why is non-veg street food seen as in some way polluting? Take a look.
It's often said everything is political, even food. And the latest political blowout in the state of Gujarat has food as its flashpoint. The Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation has decided to remove non-vegetarian food stalls, even those selling eggs, from public roads and those operating 100 meters from schools and religious places.
આજની ટાઉન પ્લાનિંગ કમિટીની અંદર નિર્ણય કરવામાં આવ્યો છે કે ભાઈ અમદાવાદ શહેરના મુખ્ય માર્ગો જે છે તેના ઉપર ઈંડા, નોનવેજ, મટન, માછલી આ તમામ લારીઓ દૂર કરવામાં આવશે.
After Vadodara, Rajkot, Bhavnagar and Junagadh, Ahmedabad is the fifth Gujarat city to ban sale of non-vegetarian food in the open. Tuesday morning saw food carts selling non-vegetarian foods being seized and removed in the city. Livelihood of as many as 6,000 food cart operators in Ahmedabad selling meat and egg products stand to be affected. The Street Vendors Association has called it a violation of the Street Vendors Act.
हाईकोर्ट पर हमें पूरा विश्वास है. हाईकोर्ट हमारे लिए कुछ न कुछ सोचेगा. किसी भी प्रकार की पूर्व तैयारी के बिना ये निर्णय लिया गया है, जिससे कारण हजारों लाखों लोगों का रोजगार आज छीन लिया जाएगा.
अब बंद हो जाए क्या होगा, हम लोग रोड पर आने पड़ेगा और क्या करेंगे, कहाँ जाएंगे.
सीएम कहे कि हमने स्टेट गवर्नमेंट बंद नहीं करावती, तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट करता मोटो एएमसी आएगी, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट अंदर में आवे एएमसी.
The backlash over the decision resulted in massive protests in Ahmedabad by street vendors, with the opposition, the Congress, jumping in.
ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल स्टैट्यूटरी राइट है नागरिक का, इस देश का, कि किसको क्या खाना, कहाँ रहना, क्या पहनना, कौन सी भाषा बोलना. ये तो बंधारण में या तो फिर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने दिया हुआ राइट है. तो सवाल ये है कि ये भाजपा पूरे समाज का ध्रुवीकरण करने जुटी है.
Under pressure by a strong political lobby of migrants and daily wagers, the BJP, which is in charge of the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, has been forced into a rethink. With the new Gujarat Chief Minister, Bhupendra Patel, clarified that the state government has no problem with different food habits of people and that the decision was taken with hygiene and civic issues in mind.
हमारे तो कोई वेज खाए, कोई नॉन वेज खाए, એનાથી અમારો પ્રશ્ન ના હોય, પણ લારીમાં વેચાતો ખાદ્ય પદાર્થ એ સ્વાસ્થ્યને હાનિકારક ના હોય એટલા પૂરતી જ વાત છે. ટ્રાફિકને અડચણરૂપ હોય એવી ક્યાંક લારી હટાવવાની થતી હોય તો એ પાલિકા, મહાનગરપાલિકા હટાવે.
Gujarat is also not the first state to curtail the selling of meat. Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Assam are some of the other states that have attempted to put strong curbs on the selling of meat products, with the state of Madhya Pradesh even removing eggs from midday meals of children in a state where a large number of them are malnourished. India has been a country where our love for food has bound us beyond political and religious beliefs. Would it be correct to try and enforce a vegetarian state? That is food for thought. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's raise questions in our second brief discussion. Food policing by the Gujarat Civic bodies. Why are non-vegetarian carts being targeted? Is there a bid to impose a particular kind of food habit on the entire population? Yamal Vyas is the chief BJP spokesperson. Pushpesh Pant, leading academic but also a food critic and historian. Appreciate your joining us. Yamal Vyas, I mean, let's be very clear. The Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation yesterday says non-vegetarian carts will not be allowed on the street. The carts are forcibly removed. Now the Chief Minister is saying, I am talking about hygiene of all food. What is the reality? A majority of people, street vendors, will lose their livelihoods by what you are doing. Why take these decisions in haste?
Rajdeep bhai, the Chief Minister made it very clear yesterday that the government or the BJP has no problems with anyone eating whatever food he wants, whatever food he wants to sell. The issue is hygiene, where that is one problem where hygiene should not be affected by unhygienic or poor quality of food. And second is the traffic issue. And let me remind you that this is not the first time that street vendors or the unauthorized constructions or business places on the streets of Ahmedabad have been removed just before COVID in 2019. The same kind of exercise was undertaken.
Yamal Vyas, 1 minute. 1 minute. Yamal Vyas, 1 minute. Yamal bhai, if it is about hygiene, then it should affect a Pani Puri seller as much as it affects Ahmedabad's famous mutton samosa sellers. If it is about traffic,
absolutely.
1 minute. But yesterday, this morning, only non-veg carts were being removed. Eggs and non-veg. Now you are doing a U-turn and saying all hygiene. Number two, the municipal corporation said within 100 meters of temples and schools, you cannot have these roadside stalls. I mean, the fact is, at the end of the day, what is the problem that you have with non-vegetarian carts? A majority of people, even in Gujarat, are non-vegetarian.
Again, let me get back to what our state president, Mr. C.R. Patel, said this evening. Your reporter was also present there. And she asked a question and he replied that we have no issues with anyone selling anything. And if a vendor selling non-veg food is removed, his earnings will be affected, and we don't intend to do any kind of effects on the earnings of people. Right. They are small people with low income, and they will be allowed to do their business. It's very clear. The party has made it clear. The government has made it very clear. Now, this is what the latest
okay, so in a way, interesting.
6 o'clock in the evening.
Interesting that there seems to be good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear that you will hopefully roll back this decision, because several municipal corporations in across Gujarat have implemented it. But Pushpesh Pant, this food policing, give us a sense. You know, Gujarat, the traditional impression is it's vegetarian. But when I look at the numbers, almost 65 to 70% of Indians across this country are non-vegetarian. You know, this obsession that eggs or in some way non-vegetarian food is impure, can't be sold outside places of worship. Give us a historical perspective, Dr. Pant.
Rajdeep, I think the whole thing is fraudulent, hypocritical, and disastrous. That's all I can say. Forcing vegetarianism down the throats of Indians is nothing but to convert the Indian democracy, Indian constitution, into a vegetative state. So once you put a vegetative state, you can get away with literally vegetarian murder. There's an ancient verse which says, Vediki hinsa hinsa na bhavati. So if a Vedic priest commits violence, then it is no violence at all. It is probably ahimsa. My take on this historically is that from times of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, some of the sites are in Gujarat state. There has been a carcass and remnants found of animals butchered for eating. There is a reference to all kinds of meat eating in Vedic times. The Shanti Parva in Mahabharata has an interesting episode where Vishwamitra steals a carcass of a dog from a Chandal's house and eats and justifies that as Apad Dharma. Now, this is besides the point. What I feel is that the Indians, most of them, not only Gujaratis, are closet non-vegetarians. They would not eat it on Mangal, they would not eat it on Purnamasi, they would not eat it in Pitri Paksh, etc., but go outside in the streets and chew amrud ki patti, pan ka patta before coming home, or smoke even a cigarette, which is the lesser evil. My problem is that it is of a piece what is happening. It is not what happened in Gujarat. It is steamrolling our fundamental rights. It is not a question of we allow everybody to eat whatever they want to eat. The FSAI spends government's money, taxpayers' money on publicizing that there is a great tourist attraction of street foods. You come out with the excuse of hygiene when you are caught in the cleft of a fork. This is of one piece, I say, Rajdeep, because you couldn't have missed the news item some days back that there will be chartered trains plying between the capital and the holy places of pilgrimage. The first one is headed towards Ma Vaishno Devi Katra. Similar trains would be purely serving whatever is the Hindu equivalent or the Hindutva equivalent of the kosher food, untouched by hands which have been polluted by handling eggs or meat or any tamasic padarth. Now, you would not even be allowed to order, which the railways till the other day were propagating. You could order the food of your choice from the a la carte menu which comes, but no. As the news item says, and I think it is reasonably accurate, one floor of the Ginger Hotel has been sanctified to produce these blessed consecrated vegetarian food. I think it is a revenge of vegetarians and vigilantes who have appropriated for themselves, and may I use the ugly word, it is worse than salami slicing. You ban eggs in the schools in Madhya Pradesh. You decide that they are not vegetarian. You say that this kind of meat is kosher, the other kind of meat is not there. You have in a secular, democratic, republican state, you have a federation of states, but the courts seem to have taken a very soft view on this. This should be treated as a matter of violation of the fundamental rights of a citizen. It is not a question of what you eat or you don't eat, whether you are a believing Hindu or not, whether you eat halal or jhatka. I think Shankarshan Thakur has come out with a beautiful quote. I belong to the community which is shocked. Offering an animal sacrifice is part of my prasad. But even if it were not, I reserve my right to eat what I want to eat and also give the same right to others. I don't think that what we are witnessing is anything short of, as I said, worse than salami slicing. It is gobbling up the fundamental rights in one good swallow.
Let me leave it there.
Swallow it, you regurgitate it a little and retract a little. I would not be very comfortable with even a U-turn, because a U-turn can be turned into a U-turn again. And who's worried about the acts? There would be some vigilante who would see to it that nobody has the guts to sell meat. In Gurgaon, they dare not open a butcher shop during the Navratri or Pitri Paksha, or in Bombay during Paryushan. So already we have got these informal, unofficial bans on meats. So I am really very upset, very distressed about this.
Let me leave it there, Professor Pant. I'm sorry to stop you because we've run short of time, but I gave you time to explain to our viewers why there is nothing unholy necessarily about non-veg food, why we have a long history, as you put it, of people who continue to eat non-veg food even in Gujarat, and certainly on the hygiene question, a pani puri and a mutton samosa, as I said, on the street, both. It's up to the individual who wants to eat to decide whether he or she finds it unhygienic. Let's leave it as a fundamental right of every citizen to choose what he or she wants to eat. I hope the Gujarat government sticks to their U-turn that they finally seem to have made on this issue. Yamal Vyas and Professor Pushpesh Pant, thank you very much for joining me. Let me take a break.